in the UFO phenomenon reporting, era, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like suddenly you get this massive sighting, which would happen today. We would have been covered by everybody's phones and whatever. But if the governor had come forward and said, "Yeah, we need to figure out what that thing is. I'm a former captain in the Air Force. I'm a pilot, and I saw it. And I don't know what the hell that thing was."
Is there any footage of the actual thing, the triangle boomerang?
There's some footage floating around, and I featured some, and I know what I saw. You got an object in the night sky with lights that. And at the time, in 2009, I did some kind of enhancement. I'm sure the software is a lot better nowadays. Of it looks like a big. I can draw it
like a boomerang.
Yeah, but more angular. It was like this. And my drawings are terrible.
Like that. Look up at the screen.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so that image in the far left, that's it right there, right?
Yeah, and here's something that kind of throws off the trail here because, the object came down of the state of Arizona. It went from north to south.
Is that legit?
On the right there?
Yeah.
I honestly, I can't say. I'd have to really do a deep dive into it, but let me tell you what happened because this is brilliant. So what happened was you got this massive object from around 5:30 at night in the southern Nevada, and then it drifts down very slowly from north to south across the entire state of Arizona. And right around 7:30, 8:30, the Barry Goldwater mountain range, which is the direction it was heading in, the military decides to drop a bunch of flares. And so people were like, "Oh, there it is. There's some, and a bunch of people filmed the flares." So in my opinion, it was a diversionary tactic that was brilliantly done because why the military suddenly decided to drop flares in somewhat of the shape. So I think that some of the footage that you've seen out there is military flares, but there was an effort. I don't know if you want to get into it right now, but there was an effort by the so-called M&B, which the MIB, these Men in Black, or the whatever unknown government agency they come from, that took some footage that I was learning about during my investigations in the 90s, and I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy.
No.
So the first time I really heard a really credible report of the MIB, and I decided not to report on it, was when I was in touch with a woman who was councilwoman, Frances Barwood, who was one of the few officials in Phoenix area that was saying, "Hey, let's investigate what these people are claiming to have seen." She's not saying aliens have landed. All she's saying is, "Hey, these people have a right to know what's going on. Let's launch an investigation." She was lambasted over the media, made fun of, ridiculed. But as a result of her public inquiry, and putting it out there, one of these individuals reached out to her, and I know this because I know her, Frances Barwood, and I heard the whole story. And he was a Vietnam vet, and he was on the roof of his house with a tripod and a camera, and he was trying to get a glimpse. He was trying to film the Hale-Bopp comet, and he had walkie-talkies, and he was monitoring the truck drivers driving up Interstate 10 from Tucson to Phoenix. And so he's monitoring this, and he hears these truckers talking about a massive UFO, and he's like, "Shit, that's heading right towards my house." So he's like, "I'll film it." So he had a camera all ready to go, and the object went right over his house, according to him, and he filmed the whole thing. And he goes, "Yeah, I filmed the whole thing. It's pretty spectacular. And I know that you're launching an investigation, Frances Barwood. Would you like to see it?" And she said, "Yeah." So they made arrangements where he was going to drop it off at her office. Either later that day or first thing the next morning, two representatives, and it was July at this point, it was very hot, two men in dark suits showed up at his house, and they said, "Hey," he was apparently relieved that's all they wanted. He said they were quite menacing looking, didn't really say a lot. They said, "We're from Frances Barwood's office. We're here to pick up that footage." So he gives them the footage. He said the only question they asked him is, did they make any copies? And he said no. And so they take the footage, off they go. Well, he doesn't hear from Frances Barwood. He's like, what the hell? So a couple days go by, I think possibly up to a week. He calls her up and he says, and Frances will tell you this, she'll validate what I'm telling you. He says, "Hey, what'd you think of the footage?" She goes, "Well, what do you mean what did I think of the footage? I never got it. You were going to drop it off at my office and you didn't show up. He goes, well, I didn't have to. You had 2 men from your office show up and pick it up. She goes, I didn't send anybody around to your office. And I know at the time in the late 90s, I'd heard a couple of stories prior to that. I thought, this is too out there. This is too outlandish. No one's going to believe this. I have no proof of this other than her testimony. Screw it. And I didn't report on it. But hearing those cases over and over and over, it's like, there we go, once again, the so-called evidence that could prove or disprove one way or the other that something truly extraordinary took place in the skies over Phoenix back in 1997 vanished. But there is some that's slipped between the cracks that's out there. You just have to do due diligence, and I don't have the time to sift through all of it.
But those images that we're looking at, they look too clean.
Yeah, I don't know what's AI generated or whatever. But
what could have been in a documentary, like a recreation.
I know what I saw features some of the footage. I covered that case extensively. So if anyone's interested in the Phoenix Lights case, but I can tell you...
How many people saw it?
Oh, thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands. I talked to another woman, Stacy Rhodes, and her daughter, Emily, and they said they were driving on Interstate 10, and she goes, look, James, I'm going to tell you how big this thing was. I said, how big? And she goes, first of all, there were people stopped on the freeway, just like stopped as this thing. It was like Close Encounters. It was floating over the... She goes, I could have held up a newspaper like this and looked to the left, looked to the right, looked at that, and she said I couldn't block this thing out. That's how big it was, and it didn't make a sound. It was gunmetal black. It was witnessed by a lot of people. That's what I say. There's some events that have happened over the decades that are pretty brazen, and that's one of them. Hudson Valley is pretty brazen as well.
I just wish I knew if it was true.
Well, when you get thousands of people seeing the same thing, if you see thousands of people saying the same thing, including the governor,
I know.
The
you
governor,
get so invested in it, and you go, "What happened?"
The
what
governor,
was that? Yeah,
the governor,
same guy who came out with a fucking guy dressed up like an alien.
I know, but I got him to come clean 10 years later.
Yeah, but he's already not credible.
Well,
he already bullshits. He does. Well, he bullshits. He definitely bullshits.
He definitely bullshits. You're right.
There you
go.
Right.
Yeah.
So when someone bullshits about that, they might bullshit about anything.
But true. Yeah. But I mean,
again, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, I hear you. I hear what you're saying, and
he hasn't been in the limelight a while. Well. It's a good thing to talk about now.
There's no smoke without fire. There is so much evidence in terms of eyewitness testimony and radar. Some photographic, not as much as we'd like, that something truly inexplicable is taking place in our airspace, right?
For sure.
Something that, after careful examination, something that, not because of a lack of data in some instances, but that after careful analysis and research, investigation, that comes out the other end and says, I can't explain this, this is going to have to be one of those unknowns or... falls into that 15% category of cannot provide a terrestrial or conventional explanation for. And those are the cases that I so desperately have been going after for a long time.
So is all this disclosure and all those discussions on television now and all these meetings and hearings, you think we're on an accelerated path? Do you think this is all good, right?
I'm convinced of it, yes.
But do you think that there's a real possibility, like within the next few years, that they just completely drop all the bullshit and come clean about this stuff? Or would it take some sort of extraordinary event where they had to admit it? Something much bigger than this drone thing?
Well, in some respects, there has been... I remember I interviewed this guy, Nick Pope, at the MOD years ago, and I was like, this is at a time when we were pushing for transparency. France was releasing previously classified documents on UFOs, les ovnis, as they'd say. And the MOD followed suit. They were releasing previously classified documents, slowly putting it out there. And at the time, it was rather exciting. I just did a big event at the National Press Club with Leslie Kean, and it was like this whole movement. It was like, oh my God, it's happening, right? Mm-hmm. But it kind of petered out a little bit. And I remember asking this guy that used to work the UFO desk at the MOD, Nick Pope, and I said, Nick, do you anticipate any type of disclosure? This is like 2009 or something, 2008, 2009. And he goes, James, no. He goes, it's going to be disclosure with a small d, not a big D. It's going to trickle out slowly. You condition people, get people prepared, test the waters. One of the things that we explore in the program, and I'd never done that, is the politics of disclosure. It's a far more complex. Let's just suspend judgment for a moment and assume that it's real, okay? That there really is an NHI, or non-human intelligence aspect to the phenomenon, right? Let's just suggest that's real. Now, how do you disclose that to the general public? What about the impacts on organized religion? What about the impacts on financial institutions? What about the fact that we'd have to confess that we don't have full control over this? I mean, Those are real considerations. And it's not just the United States, right? This involves the planet. This involves all of humanity.
I wanted to ask you about this.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Oh,
but
I do.
It's
I
more
do. I totally understand
more
it.
complex than you think.
Oh, I totally get that. How does Russia handle these things? How does China handle these things?
Well, there was a case in China that happened in 1994, right around the time of Rua, Zimbabwe, also in 1994, called Meng Jiao Gua. And it happened in the Black Mountains, and it was a landing, alleged contact, close to kind of the third kind. It's funny because it happened right at the same time of Africa, similar message that was conveyed. I went to China. I met with an active general in uniform, talked openly about the UFO phenomenon. Mm-hmm. They were pretty open. I went to Russia in the late 90s, and that was right before Putin. It was right around the time when Putin was coming in, and that was a period of openness. And I went to Star City, Russia. I interviewed a cosmonaut, Pavel Popovich, a number of generals, and they were very open about it. In fact, they said to me at the time, if you're here to discuss whether or not the UFO phenomenon is real, the door's right over there. We're here to create an international coalition, an international exchange of information, and to talk about the implications of the phenomenon, which I thought was amazing. This is like 25 years ago, right? So now, I don't know if things have changed since Putin's been in office, but that was back in the late 90s. I mean, there've been congressional hearings in Brazil. Mm-hmm. There's been an effort. I mean, shit, they had hearings back in 1978 at United Nations that Lee Spiegel put on, So there's been an ongoing effort for this stuff to come out. I just think it's different this time. To me, it feels like they're not gonna. There's too much momentum behind it at this point, and there's so much legislation that's written. It's too much that's come out, and it's too important. Look, whether you believe it or you don't believe it, if you can just imagine for a moment, if it is true. And if the U.S. government does, in fact, have irrefutable evidence that we're not alone in the universe, that's so significant that we all have a right to that information and that we should continue to support this unprecedented push for transparency with our elected officials and get to the fucking bottom of it. Why not?
Everybody agrees.
Right?
Yeah, I think everybody agrees. I think the general public, no one's going to disagree with you about that.
Yeah, and the new administration's coming in. There's, there's Ratcliffe and Rubio. I'm telling you, Rubio knows a lot. I know that.
How do you know he knows?
Because I've talked to people that have debriefed him and been in the room with him during first.
You haven't talked to him?
No, I have not. No, I have not. But I talked to people that were in the room when he was being briefed from first-handers. I'm told that there were, I'm going to say right around 12 first-hand people that have had behind closed doors meetings, firsthand people that are concerned about their secrecy, concerned about their safety, concerned about the implications of them coming forward and going public. That they don't quite have. And this comes from very good source of information. That the witness protection program and the legislation that they've created around that is not quite there yet. It's getting closer. They need to continue to work on that.
You don't mean like witness protections program, like put them in
whistleblowers.
hiding.
They have whistleblower protection. I'm so sorry. I meant to say that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah. Whistleblower protection is not quite in place. One of the things I really wanted to mention is that there is a gentleman, a young man who's 30 and he feels like he's old. His name is Jesse Michaels, and he's got this new show called American Alchemy. It's a couple years old.
Why does he feel like he's old?
Because, when you're 30, you feel like you're old.
Really?
Well, I did. When I turned 30, I was like, I'm 30, because just 10 years earlier, I was almost 19, right? Mm-hmm. Or 11 years earlier, I was 19.
Right.
You go from a teenager to suddenly you're 30, you always think like 30. And I was talking to him not too long ago, Jesse, and I said, he's like, yeah, I feel a little old. I was like, dude, you are just getting into your prime, baby. This is rock and roll time. But I really wanted to, this is a guy who's young. Julian Doria is also doing some amazing work on this in podcasts, but he was young and is doing a deep dive into the implications and he meets with aerospace engineers. The guy's, Jesse, you're a phenomenon. Keep rocking and rolling. I want to tip my hat to you. I don't know if you've seen this guy or not.
No, I haven't.
He's doing deep dives into what's happening.
Maybe
right
I
now.
have.
He's documented it with these podcasts, and he's doing a fantastic job. And I just got to tip my hat to the guy because he's 10 times smarter than I'll ever be. And he's young, and he's a force to be reckoned with. And he's answering all the questions that you and I are exploring, all these issues that you and I are talking about.
Well, I'm glad there's people out there pushing it, and I'm glad there's guys like Grush that are sticking their neck out, and guys like you who are making documentaries about it. It's the subject is much more open to discussion, like I was saying, amongst serious people.
Yes.
Where it didn't used to be before. And now I think with this drone thing, I think there's so many people that are going, okay, even if they're ours or they're China's or they're what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, why are there so many of them? What are the answers, and why can't you tell us? Is it because they're searching for a nuke? Jesus Christ, maybe you should warn people and get the fuck out of here. Is that really what's going on? Like, if it's not, what is going on? And if it's not ours, what are they? And how come you can't track them? How come, like, what kind of...
Very bizarre.
It doesn't even make sense.
It's very,
It doesn't
very
make
bizarre.
sense when you think of the capabilities of the United States military. It doesn't make any sense. They can't figure out what's going on. I think what Trump said is probably correct, that the government knows. They know what's happening, and they don't want to tell people.
Why wouldn't
whatever
he,
reason.
though? He could tell us. Why wouldn't he tell us?
I don't think he knows yet. I don't think until he gets into office. He gave a speech about it at Mar-a-Lago.
I saw that. But did he say...
Well, let's watch it. We'll watch it.
Yeah,
pull the speech up.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if he... Yeah, well, we're about to find out.
Yeah, essentially he was saying that he knows that the government knows what's going on, and they're not telling us.
So
and that means they're not telling him.
So they're not telling him.
No, I don't think until you get into office, you're not the president, right? So he's the president-elect. I don't know what kind of...
clearances that he has.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works.
God, I'd be very curious to know what he knows.
Right, especially with this. Like, who do you even ask? Like, who is the person that can lay out the information? Like, which department? Which agency?
Yeah,
Let's
right.
hear
And
him
it seems
talk.
like they're so compartmentalized.
What about the fear here at home of the drones?
Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows, and our president knows.
Our president
And
knows.
for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you
Want to
shoot
know
them
the
down?
truth. They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Yeah.
I think I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster.
Yeah. I
Wow.
mean, I bet someone told him, Mr. President, it's pretty important that you don't go to the golf course. Yeah.
God, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Hey,
so what does that mean?
I gotta, if you don't mind, I was contacted. I went to this.
Are you going to switch subjects?
Well, no. This is all about exactly what we're talking about. This is something that I really need to put out there because it's very important.
Okay.
And it's an unprecedented effort spearheaded by this woman, Andrea, who runs a number of communities on Reddit. And she said that they're banding together for the first time ever. It's the biggest grassroots campaign for government transparency. This is happening on Friday, the 20th of December at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And this has the potential to reach millions and millions of people. It's the most unprecedented event on Reddit in history. And I'll post all of the necessary information on X because this is a very grassroots effort. And
what are they doing?
At James C. Fox on X, formerly known as Twitter. It's the Reddit community is banding together for a huge grassroots campaign for government transparency. So basically all the various platforms on Reddit, like paranormal, UFO.
And he's got this fucking insane story about being repaired on a UFO.
Yeah, and all those guys passed lie detector tests.
Yes, all of them did.
The like movies like that, I'm sure for millions of people around the world, same thing. It just made me curious about this,
Yeah.
My whole life I'm like, are we alone in the universe? Does the U.S. government know more about this than we do, right? And I always wish that there was a documentary that only interviewed people who have direct knowledge of the topic as a result of work for the government. And that was the real drive of making this film. Everybody fits that criteria.
Here's the fear that everyone has, including myself. And it is the way, this is the main fear that I have whenever I sit down with any whistleblower. How many of them are on purpose, that their directive, that their objective is to spread misinformation on purpose, on behalf of the government? That they're there to just bullshit you.
Yeah, no, of course I had that thought. But for me, I stopped worrying about that when I met one intelligence official, government official, military official after another who had completely different ideological views, different political beliefs. They weren't associated with each other, and they were all saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so I just don't. The alternative to everything these people are saying in my film being true is that 34 people of different political parties, different government groups, with different aspirations, all got together 4 years ago and decided to tell this elaborate lie randomly with me in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And for what end? It doesn't make any sense.
There's a couple ends, right? One of them could be they're being told to do this because this is a real thing, but it's different than what they're saying, and they're trying to get one narrative out there.
Well,
right. Let's imagine that there's a current coordinated effort with the United States government and some sort of alien intelligence. Wouldn't it behoove you to make it more of a mystery? Like we have found things, but we don't know what they are. And we're back engineering, but we don't know much. But meanwhile, they know way more.
Well, yeah, look.
Like that's just one scenario.
That could be a scenario. But in this case, you have people who, like Rubio, who found out what's going on.
Right.
Who think it is very urgent that the public get caught up and find out the base facts.
Yeah.
His biggest fear, clearly, is we are in a high-stakes technology race, a Cold War race, with adversarial nations like China to reverse engineer technology of non-human origin. And his fear, he literally says in the film, is that if we don't get our act together and take this more seriously as a country, we're going to wake up one day, we're going to find out the hard way that China got there. We won't know when or how, but to quote him, we will be screwed. And you could feel it. Like I did all the interviews myself. I'm like this close to him. His chin buckled when he said it. He was dead serious and he was super concerned and you could feel it. And that was the vibe with Senator Rounds, Senator Gillibrand, Jim Clapper. The guy's never talked about this topic in his life. He's in his 80s. He was the head of Air Force Intelligence. He was the director of national intelligence. Never publicly spoken about UAP. He comes out and does the interview, and he told me, he told me that he was doing it because it was important to do and that the people needed to know. And he drops the bomb in the film that UAP activity over Area 51 is real. It's in fact real. And he goes on the record saying that the Air Force has had a program to investigate this stuff, whereas the Air Force is saying they haven't had a program since Project Blue Book. So I think the people that I interviewed really felt like a weight on their shoulders to get this off their chest. And to give you more context on Clapper, the poor guy's wife was in the hospital dying. He left the hospital to come do the interview. And I actually said to him, I was like, are you sure you want to do this today? And he's like, no, I want to do it. It's important.
Wow.
So, like, I think I really felt it. These people all felt like the public needed to know the base facts that they could lawfully disclose. And to me, the more wild thing is if what they reveal in this film, the fact that there's been an 80-year cover-up of non-human intelligent life, that we're in a secret high-stakes race with adversarial nations, if that's what they can lawfully disclose, dude, what's on the other side of that line?
Right.
What's the stuff they can't disclose?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. When you're talking to these people, how many of them have had personal experiences that they either can or cannot talk about? Or how many of them, has anyone had some sort of personal experience with either a craft or seen something?
Yeah. So
that they couldn't talk about?
There were some scenarios that they couldn't talk about, and then there were some scenarios they could talk about. But yes, Jay Stratton, for example, who ran the U.S. government's UAP task force. He was the director of the UAP task force. He co-founded OSAP with Jim Lukatsky, which grew into ATIP. He has seen with his own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings. Some situations that he can't talk about, some situations that he can. And I know he intends to talk about those in the very near future.
Yeah, I've talked to him. So is that the only one that saw a non-human being that you talked to?
No. Talked to a couple people who have.
And were they similar stories?
They were similar stories. They described the beings looking. The reference point they gave me was very similar to the beings depicted in Close Encounters. That is the description they used.
Yeah.
In terms of the crafts, one of the interviews in the film that I'm really proud of, an Air Force security guard who worked at Vandenberg Air Force Base, who's never gone public, witnessed with his own eyes, along with 5 other security forces members, a giant UAP the size of a football field that came over Vandenberg Air Force Base, hovered over them, and then shot off at thousands of miles an hour. And he went on the record on camera. He's never talked about it publicly. He's never pursued press or, tried to do anything with this experience.
Right.
And he broke his silence in this film because he thought it was really important that the world know the truth.
Did you ask him if there's any footage? I would imagine Vandenberg has some pretty tight security.
Yeah, he thinks that there is security camera footage of this.
But he's never seen it.
He's never seen it, no.
Good Lord, people.
Him and five other guys saw it with their own eyes. They all reported it. There's official Air Force police blogger reports of it. I got a hold of the police report. We put it on screen in the film.
That's what drives me crazy. All this could be cleared up if they released the whatever high-resolution security camera footage they have. I would imagine they have top-notch security camera footage around major military facilities.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that's one of the hurdles we have to get past. We have to
these motherfuckers
start
are holding on.
declassifying
They've
this
got
stuff.
these fucking. It's just like if that shouldn't be yours. Like that should be the United States government has an obligation to give that to the people of the world. That's what that should be. If you have footage of a fucking UFO, a real one, and you really have a video of it going thousands of miles an hour, just disappearing into the sky.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't think any government or organization or religion, anyone should be able to gatekeep these fundamental facts,
I know, but the problem is until you see it, it's just talk. If you saw it and you know the like the chain of command, like where it came from, or chain of custody rather, where it came from, it hasn't been molested, have analysts test it, it's not AI, it's not bullshit, it's not edited. Okay, what is it?
Yeah.
And then we can talk. But until then, like, what do we have? We have the go fast footage, we have the gimbal footage, and we have the very kind of grainy, weird TikTok footage. It's hard to tell what it is because you're looking at it from the instrumentation of the fighter jets.
Yeah, but there is also other data on the Tic Tac incident that's classified that shows this is a real object that was really there.
Jamie's showing me something. What are you showing me, Jamie?
This is Ryan Graves talking about the big red UFO that hovered over Vandenberg in 2003.
This stuff is landing or crashing around the world, and unexpected countries have had this happen, and that's why I picked that, because I thought that was a interesting case. And then, of course, Pope Pius XII and the Vatican were involved, back-channeling it through the OSS, which became the CIA later, to FDR, and that's how the U.S. knew something weird happened in Italy right before World War II. But
so this is 33 was the first documented.
That is the earliest one I can talk about. Yeah,
there's something that predates that.
You could infer that.
You could infer that.
Yeah.
So this 33 one you said was in Italy?
Yeah, Magenta. So it's I'm bad at geography. I think that's like Lombardy region. It's like northwest Italy.
And what's the story behind it?
So basically, it looked like it crashed. Right. The original shape most likely was like a lenticular disc-like craft, with like two dinner plates.
What
right?
does lenticular mean?
So like two dinner plates, smushed together, right? The hump, and there's like a like a bubble on top.
Like the classic
saucer. Like that.
Like that. Okay.
But it looks like when it hits, the edges broke off, so it became this like bell or acorn shaped thing. And there was nothing in it. It was like just an artifact. There was no biological remnants, if you will. So it's so funny because the Italians were so confused, they actually called up the Germans and they were like, is this one of your Wunderwaffe? Like, what the hell just crashed in northern Italy? Mussolini, and this is all publicly available information because some Italian researchers found all these original documents that some people were sitting on for years in Italy. They put a gag order on the press, etc. And Mussolini asked the Germans to come down. And of course, the Germans came down and they were like, that is not ours, but let's look at it together. So that's kind of perhaps a tertiary reason the kind of Axis powers got together. I'm not saying that's like the reason, but I think the Italians and the Germans were so intrigued with what they found from like an artifact perspective. There was at least some scientific and military collaboration during the war, the details of which I'm not sure of, but I know people that know that specific event that are currently still intel officers within this program in detail. But
So was there witnesses to the crash or some sort of an understanding that something had crash landed and then they discovered it?
Yeah, I forget the precise discovery. I don't know if it was like local police officers or local farmers found it in the field, something like that. I don't want to misspeak. I assume some of the Italian researchers might have some fact witnesses that can orally say, "Oh yeah, my great-grandfather found it" or something like that. But I don't remember off the top
What
of
was
my
the
head.
scale of this vehicle?
It was probably like 20 feet by 10 feet, something like that. Not super huge, but kind of big.
Do they think that this was a drone? Do they think that this was occupied?
There was nothing in it. So if it was piloted, if you will, by some sentience, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. So.
So what happened to that vehicle?
So we knew where it was being stored at a particular location after the crash, and then the military came in and we grabbed it towards the end of the war, 1944, 1945, because, like I said, Pope Pius XII already kind of let FDR know.
Why did the Pope get involved? Because it's
in
Italy?
Well, interestingly enough, there's like a whole history of human intelligence prior to World War II and old money, the Vatican, the Italian mob, kind of the old country boys did a lot of informal intelligence collection for the U.S. And there's probably some books you can read on it, but it's really interesting. Human intelligence collection wasn't really formalized until the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS, which became the CIA in 1947. You had, Paul Mellon and all these other affluent guys of all these old money families that basically created the CIA. So that's probably the reason why.
So this thing that was recovered, this was the first documented one that the United States had access to?
I can't get into if it was the first or not, but it was an early one.
Very early.
Yeah.
So it's almost 100 years ago.
Yes.
And so they take this thing and then they bring it where?
Yeah, I can't get into those.
Can't get
details.
into that.
No.
Okay. So they bring it somewhere in the United States. And was the attempt to try to back engineer this thing? Was the attempt to try to understand what it was?
Yeah, I mean, first of it, obviously, it's understanding the situation, right? What do we have our hands on? And like I've said in some other videos and stuff, we took the Manhattan Project secrecy and overlaid it on this issue because that secrecy worked well for atomic bomb developments and whatnots. And certainly this whole program in a nutshell, if I were to summarize the 90 plus years of history, it is a reverse engineering program to garner some kind of insight. And of course, not a lot of the things that we've learned from it are directly, ripped off the technology we found, but it has inspired other innovations that made its way into other U.S. classified programs over the year for national defense reasons, and it's a myriad of different things. So
the UFO folklore is that this is where fiber optics were discovered first.
Yeah, I'm not going to break the seal on anything we've discovered or anything like that. And it's a place I can't go to.
How limited are you in what you can discuss and what you can't discuss, and why?
Yeah.
Why do they let you discuss any of this?
Yeah, so anything sensitive that I want to say as it relates to U.S. government activity, whether it be intelligence stuff, military stuff, etc., I have to submit it through what they call DOPSR, DoD Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review. That is something anybody who's been an intel officer, anybody with a clearance, has to submit that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, if you're writing a book about gardening, you don't have to. But if you're going to talk about anything military and intelligence related, you have to submit. So it's kind of a catch-22 for this office, right? They're only looking at it from a security perspective. They're not vouching for it or anything like that. And that's like any author, right? They could write a book about Navy SEALs and they're not vouching for the story. They're vouching that you didn't say any nasty code words. You didn't burn a specific ongoing classified program. And for them, I mean, I'm not in their OODA loop, but certainly it's a catch-22 for them where if they want to redact and they propose a redaction, they're like, hey, Dave, you can't say these sentences. You can rewrite it and resubmit. We can't necessarily tell you what agency said to redact it, but you're not allowed to say this. they would be basically self-certifying there's a there. So in my opinion, probably the policy is like, if it has to deal with the subject, we're not saying anything. We're not proposing any redactions. As long as he's not burning a conventional program, we kind of have to allow him to exercise his First Amendment rights. And so I think it's like a catch-22 for that office is kind of the short of the long answer.
So this is essentially one of the very early ones, 1933. How many crash retrieval incidents have there been?
It is double digit. The specific numbers I do know. However, I can't discuss that. And I know it sounds like, oh, I'm being coy or whatever, but this show, any other interviews I do, right? Foreign intelligence services are watching, and it's like, I'm not here to help Russia and China calibrate their intelligence collection. Like, oh, Dave said it's this number. We missed a couple. Shit. Let's put it out for the KGB, SVR, and GRU are now going to hit the streets to try to figure out which ones they missed. So I'm here to protect national security, and I'm just trying to put all the general topics out there for public conversation to hold our government accountable, really. So, because I'm here as a fact witness, because we have a constitutional oversight issue, because this program has not been reported to Congress in the appropriate way, and I can get into a senator I talked to that has died recently, so I can, explain to you why I'm so sure. Besides what I read, which we can get into what intel reports I read, I did get some stuff cleared. So during my investigation, I'm like, you know what? I need to talk to somebody at the highest levels, right? So, and this will give you an idea of the kind of people we talk to. And this is the only one I'm going to talk about using their name because they died 2 years ago. So in spring 2021, I actually flew with a couple colleagues of mine to Las Vegas. And I met with Senator Harry Reid about 9 months before he died. And of course, he's a private citizen now. And I wanted to brief him on the topic, and I wanted to get his kind of thought leadership on it because, he was a Gang of Eight member, right? Which is the top most cleared senators and congressmen. He was the majority leader, for God's sakes, of the Senate. And I knew, he helped sponsor the OSAP program that I mentioned, and where they looked at Skinwalker Ranch and some other things. And I wanted to understand, like, what does Harry Reid actually know? Like, why did he give $21 million to DIA and Bigelow Aerospace for this? So I'm sitting there in Harry Reid's living room, right next to him with some other witnesses that were there with me. And he straight up says, he's like, yeah, I knew we had UFO material. I was denied access for decades. I tried to get access. And then he explained some of his efforts during OSAP. And I was like, holy shit, did the former majority leader just say, did he just confirm this to me as well? I was already talking to these amazing high-level people, but I have Harry Reid literally saying, yes, we have material, and, he knew it was non-human.
Did Harry Reid have personal experience with this?
I don't know if he's had any personal stuff in his personal life.
I mean, did he see it? Did he
said,
witness?
In terms of seeing the material himself, he said he was denied access for years, decades was his term. And he actually told me on behalf of me, so he had like a weekly call with President Joe Biden at the time. And he straight up said to me he was going to talk to President Biden about this issue, literally. And then what he was telling me about OSAP, I was like, holy shit, I have like 20 other people that told me this, dude. So the real history, what fucking OSAP was, because I think there's a lot of people out there that think they were looking at ghosts, Skinwalker Ranch. Yes, they went to the ranch as a secondary and tertiary objective. But the real reason, so like there's a document that came out a couple years ago through FOIA from the Defense Intelligence Agency. There was this special access program request that Harry Reid, you might have seen this, I think like George Knapp and company have reported on this. that he sent to the Deputy Secretary of Defense, William Lynn. And it was asking for one of the most serious SAPs you can ask for, what they call a bigoted, waived special access program. So waived means it's limited congressional reporting. That is a class of special access programs. And bigoted means it's like by name. And it was like, you could read the FOIA document. It was like, Harry Reid, James Inhofe, Lou Elizondo, etc. And I'm like, why are you asking for the most serious SAP to be created for a program that ostensibly is looking at Skinwalker Ranch and stuff? And it doesn't make any sense. So what really happened there, and Harry Reid, God bless his soul, made this disclosure a couple weeks after we met in the New Yorker, and you can look this up. I think it was like a May 2021 New Yorker story where he says, I knew for decades, and he made this disclosure, not me, so I'm going to say the name of the contractor. Harry Reid said this. We knew that Lockheed Martin had this material for decades. I tried to get access and I was denied. And specifically with the Lockheed Martin stuff, he was talking about during the OSAP program. And for the people who are on this program, I submitted this shit to DOPSR, got this cleared, so don't freak out, but I'm telling the truth here. So Lockheed Martin wanted to divest itself from this material at a specific facility that's known to me that I provided to the Inspector General. Like street address, all that shit, right? And the idea was if they made a security catcher's mitt for this shit, most serious SAP possible, the contractor and the other government customer, which was the Central Intelligence Agency, for that specific Lockheed material, and it was shit that they recovered from like the 50s and stuff, and it was like bits and pieces of like hull structure, shit like that, and so they were going to tech transfer it, and the $21 or $22 million was actually for Bigelow Aerospace to build out, facilities in Las Vegas and material analysis equipment. And I saw the staff meeting slides, I saw the paperwork. Like there's a paperwork trail I've seen on this shit, and I talked to the people involved in this program.
However, there's just been recently a bunch of new data that came up about things that happened a decade or two ago, or inside the last decade, that really changed that picture. And it was things like the Merlin Burroughs scans that correlated other scans and also reported on, there seems to be a metallic object down there. And this isn't sort of crazy emerging science. This is a legitimate company that is using technology that's been well established in defence and in the UK defence. It came out of the UK military as a technology that's been more or less proven. So, and the guy that Tim Akers, rest in peace, unfortunately he's since passed, but he, what he said about this object, like he is a credible guy to say this. He doesn't draw conclusions about what it might be, but it's not wood, it's not stone, it's metal. It's not unlike other metal that he's seen, although they couldn't classify what exact type of metal it is. But he said, there is in this central atrium, because the labyrinth has multiple levels, and it's almost like imagine yourself standing in a shopping mall, and you have that central atrium where you can see all these levels, and it's like this big central chamber that connects to these multiple levels. It's open. It's at least 40 meters long. It's really tall, and in the center of it is what's more than 40, because it contains this single sort of 40 meter long object that's sitting in there.
And that's where you get into the alien camp.
Well, that 40 meter tic-tac shaped metallic objects.
Yeah. What is that thing?
Well,
and what kind of metal?
We don't know.
Imagine if it's titanium.
Could be. He said it didn't match any signature that he'd seen before.
That's crazy,
dude,
in and of itself.
It's one of the things I'll remember always about when you were sitting here talking to Bob Lazar, and he said that some of those craft came from archaeological digs. I mean, it's a part of his story. There's long been rumors of that type of stuff under the ground in Egypt. I'm not saying that's what it is, but this is what Tim said about it.
That would be amazing.
It would be.
If there's a UFO down there. All layers converge at a central corridor or avenue, like the atrium of a shopping mall, where you can see all floors from one vantage point. My personal interpretation is that this entire hall was constructed to house a centrally positioned, freestanding object about 40 meters long. The central object is hard to classify. It appears metallic, not stone or wood. I named it Dippy after the giant Diplodocus skeleton in the Hintsey Hall of London's, did I say that right?
Yeah, Hints, I think.
Hints Hall of London's Natural History Museum. It could be anything. Its shape resembles those tic-tac hard mints. It might also be an upright disc or even a colossal Shen ring. And what is a Shen ring?
It's like the cartouche. You know, that thing around a cartouche.
Oh, wow. Big object alone raises profound questions. How did it get there? Why is it there? A more speculative theory is that it's some kind of portal. Oh boy, now we're going full tinfoil. Either interdimensional or interstellar, a Stargate. Its material signature is unlike anything I've seen in my entire career, but it's there, undeniably there. I'll let the future find out what Dippy is. Tim Akers. Well, he went full Art Bell right there.
He did.
Interdimensional or interstellar, a Stargate. Let's go back to those hieroglyphs, Jamie. The lizard guy, the frog guy, or whatever that reptilian thing is, that freaks me out.
Oh yeah, it's the stuff of nightmares at times. It's kind of weird
because that's one of the things that the weirdest. The weirdest stories when they start talking about aliens is the different types that visit.
Right.
And that one of them is a reptilian species that are the most creepy to deal with. Which makes sense.
Heard the same thing. It would be. Yeah, I mean that
just
reptilian
like reptiles
brain.
on Earth.
Like chickens are assholes, you know?
Right, they are. And so are Komodo dragons. And the idea that somehow or another they could eventually reach incredible levels of technological sophistication and intelligence. We kind of rule that out. But look, there's clearly primates that are way dumber than us, right?
Oh, for sure.
So why do we assume that it's only primates that reach an incredible high level of sophistication when we know that crows, which are really fucking close to dinosaurs, super smart, like smarter than most kids.
Yeah, problem solving smart.
Yeah.
I don't think you can't put a restrictor on what evolution might produce.
Not at all.
In any of these,
especially when intelligence is being exhibited by things that are really close evolutionarily to reptiles.
Yes. Yeah, and that would just be, you get to that, just lack of empathy, just that reptilian brain. Right. It's just aggression, and everything that's not us is the enemy kind of
That's the mindfuck is smart dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah.
That was in Jurassic Park, right? The raptors, they were
clever
super
girl.
Smart. Yeah, they were smart, which, makes sense.
Yeah, it's that whole pack, the instinct.
But the idea that we were visited by intelligent reptiles is fucking bananas.
Yeah, with the aliens, I don't often address it. But I put it firmly in the realm of possible. It's just I think when you look at the vastness of space and the length of time, the fact that we're just this crazy. There could have massive civilizations galactically could have risen and fallen a million years ago, and we just weren't part of it. And that's literally a blink of the eye in those sort of time frames. It's not surprising. This is the Fermi paradox, right? How come we haven't got firm proof or anything, even though people will say we have? But it's yes, it's the length of time. We can rise and fall. That span of a million years is just nothing on those time scales. And you can whole species can rise to massive prominence and then just be nothing but dust at the end of that period of time. Yes. And you got to try and do that across 14 billion years, and even that's in question now because the James Webb Telescope's seeing stuff that's supposedly way older than that now.
Right,
calling them aliens or whatever. But I think it happened in the Eisenhower days. That's when it really started to come because that's when they were saying that this UFO came to Holloman and landed and actually talked to the president at the time and all that stuff.
Imagine a UFO talking to Trump.
Oh, yeah.
He'd probably try to tax him.
Yeah.
So my biggest question, anytime someone brings up NHI aliens, my first thing is, which one?
Which one?
Because they talk about it as if it's one entity. Oh, they did that. Oh, they did this. But when you break it down, we're hearing some like us and want us to evolve. Some don't like us and want us to kind of
pull back.
Yeah. And they want to control certain things. So I'm like, well, which one? And then they look at me with that deer in the headlight look like, I don't know.
Right. So there's the idea that our superiors, that the military, the top levels of government, they are not given all the information.
Correct.
Because probably we're like a bunch of children. You know, we're like, you're too stupid to figure this out. I'm not going to tell you what a nuclear bomb is. Just duck and cover.
However,
the table.
we could be the greatest show in this part of the universe.
Oh, I'm sure we're a great show.
Yeah, I mean, imagine when we talk about the things with the nuclear bombs where the missile silos, they started counting down or whatever.
Right.
Maybe it's like, hey, let's see how far they'll go if we do this.
Right.
And then everybody gets all excited, and then I was like, okay, we're just kidding. We'll turn it off and go from there.
Well, perhaps. I mean, listen, we run experiments all the time on animals. All the time. And we have collars on bears. We set them loose. Like, let's follow the bear. Where's he going? Mm-hmm. We do that all the time. We do that with all kinds of species.
Yeah, we do. And I think
it only makes sense that they would do it with us, especially since we literally have the ability to annihilate all life on Earth. And we're pointing at each other
multiple times.
Yeah, multiple times.
Yeah, mad world.
It's a mad world. I had that argument with Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was like, "Why would they be interested in us?" I'm like, "What are you talking? We go to the jungle to study a frog. You know, like of course they would come here. We're so strange.
And we protect the turtles in that one little area that EPA says, oh no, you can't mess with those turtles.
Yeah, imagine Elon gets to Mars and we do find life there, and we'd be so interested to figure out how it works, what makes it tick."
You know, they believe they found actual water on Mars, not frozen water now?
Yeah, on the poles. Yeah, I heard about that.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Because if there's actual water in there and they can find something in that water that's alive.
Yeah.
But if we're going to expand out into the universe, which is what Elon Musk says, the fact that we don't have to bring water with us,
right?
That's huge.
Bro, I ain't drinking Mars water. I don't drink tap water, and I definitely ain't drinking Mars water.
It could be better than Red Bull.
Imagine if it's like filled with crazy minerals, and you drink a glass of Mars water, and you just feel incredible. And then we have to ship Mars water from Mars back to LA.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's a war right there. That's a war right there. People are going to be like, how come they have it, we don't?
Right, there'll be water wars. What if Mars water just makes you go back in time? Like you look 20 again.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I mean, who knows what the fuck's in that water?
I don't know, but those are the kind of things you're right though. That's kind of how we are. Is that we're very curious about what's on that planet and how we can utilize the resources that are there, like the water and everything else. And we're going to learn some stuff, and it's going to take a long time.
What I'm really curious about is what was Mars like before it lost its atmosphere.
Me too.
And was there a time a few billion years ago where Mars was like Earth? You know,
it seems to be what people are saying.
That's the craziest of all theories, right? And the most interesting. But if, you know, Earth still exists 5 billion years from now, and now it's cold and dead and there's nothing, how much would be left? How much is left after a couple of billion years? You know, I mean, what is really left over? What does it look like? Does it look like Mars? Because Mars looks completely desolate. But we know that Mars had water, and we know Mars had a warmer climate. So you kind of just assume there was something growing there.
Yep.
What does it look like a couple of billion years later? Probably like Mars.
Yeah.
Which is great. If we do find out that Mars at one point in time housed biological life, or maybe there's microbial life or something like that that still exists on Mars, just the climate is so harsh it can't advance past that stage, that alone would just change our whole view of the universe itself, because then we would start to consider, okay, maybe this isn't just this one thing that happened. Maybe the Fermi paradox is just that we don't have the ability to detect all these things that are out there.
Yeah, we don't
or maybe
know.
they really do pass by and keep their doors closed.
And locks.
Right, we're fucking shooting fireworks at 4th of July. We're nuts.
Yeah.
We're the craziest species on this planet by far. Everything else is normal. Everything else just kills what it wants to eat. Everything else, you know, does normal stuff. It's they fight over resources, but that kind of makes sense biologically.
Honestly, after my experience in the program, I found that it seems the more I think about it, the more that they are very much like us in a lot of ways, but they have probably a world government that we do not have. In other words, they can get along in their own society much better than we can, and their former government is not broken up.
I think if you branch out into the solar system and then into the galaxy, like as you start spreading out, if you do become some sort of an interstellar species, you kind of have to be united as a planet, right? You got to go, look, all this bullshit about this country and that country, let's let it go. Let's let it go. I mean, I don't want one world government because I don't trust the government. But if I did trust the government, I'd be like, one world government is the way to go. Everybody should have the same resources. Everybody should have the same access to healthy food and water and clean air. Like, it should be the same for everybody. It shouldn't be that you can make an iPhone in China because they can make it for 15 cents because people are working like slaves.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be like that. It should be like the whole world has the same rules. But the problem is you can't trust the government. So what do? Well, if you get to a point where everybody's so advanced that we don't have all of the same greed and lust and all the bullshit that ruins human society, if aliens get to that point, then it only makes sense that they would operate as a planet. But then they would have like their interest in ahead of these fuckers on that other planet.
So along those lines, it's those things that you talked about. Those are the things that inherently make us human.
A little closer.
I'm sorry.
The hand moves. You can push it if you want to sit back.
Those are the things that inherently make us human. So the question would be, depending on which NHI you're thinking about, what inherently makes them them, and how compatible are we in what we're looking at? Because those could be some of the things that attract them to us or detract them away from us.
What I'm interested in is, are there things just like us? Is this like, if like there's similar plants that exist in similar ecosystems all over the world where ideally the seeds have never been able to get back and forth. But they're similar, at least in some ways. It's just a matter of climate, resources. These plants, over millions and millions of years, the same kind of plants grow. Similar kind of animals. There's rats all over the place.
There's a pattern to it.
Yeah, there's a pattern.
At atomic level, there's a way that things occur naturally, and they form different things. So a bird, I agree. I think you and I talked about it the first time we spoke on the phone, is that, there probably is a bird, kind of looks like a bird on another part of the universe, but maybe it has, two sets of wings.
Right.
Or two heads or something. I don't know. Just because
something similar. Like, I mean, the birds vary so wide. I mean, you can get a sparrow, or you can get a fucking eagle or a condor. Yeah. There's so many different kinds of birds, too. But I wonder, is this the only kind of way life evolves, or are there planets that are just radically different than our planet, and life forms in a completely different way?
Yeah, I would think that that's true also, is that there's exceptions to the rule, just like there are here on Earth, that we've got some really strange creatures that roam around, like people are starting to say octopi and stuff. They don't fit the normal way that things evolve around the Earth and stuff like that.
And there's no bones there, so, you're not going to find any fossils anywhere.
Yeah.
That's why. But if you think about some of the things that we're being told now, 99% of all life that lived before is all gone now.
Right.
So if this is what's left, maybe some of those unique things that were out there, there's something similar, because one of the things that I ponder is there's got to be some grand design, because when we see these aliens, whether they talk about it's a gray, it's a Nordic, it's a draconian, or if it's a mantis, they're all standing upright. So is that a part of the grand design, that is as intelligent as you get further up the food chain, you start to stand on your two legs and whatever? And then I think about, if it's a mantis, whatever, how did they build their ships if they don't really have opposable thumbs? And those are the things that we're always taught. These are the things that make us unique as humans, and we can build things, and that's why the other animals didn't. The only other animal out there is the chimpanzee or the gorilla or something, primates. But obviously, nature finds a way, and it's not human nature, it's something other type nature, and they do something else.
Well, it could be genetic engineering, too. It could be that
I was going to mention that.
They reach some point where they say, well, what's the best structure for a body? A mantis structure way better than a person structure. We break so easy. Mantis are insanely strong. You ever see a mantis catch a hummingbird at a feeder?
Yes.
It's nuts, man.
Yeah, taking out tarantulas and scorpions.
They're so little. And they just snatch that fucker up, and he can't move. And like, if you looked at them, like, the hummingbird's probably like 4 times heavier, at least. Probably more than that. And he's just like, whoosh, gotcha. It's like that design, the exoskeleton design is superior in terms of like durability. And also lobsters and crabs and all these kind of insects like that. Do mantis regrow limbs?
Oh.
Let's find that out.
All I know is
Because
that
like
don't think so.
crabs do.
yeah,
I know crabs can.
yeah,
Yeah.
lobsters and crabs. All I think of them as just armored spiders.
Yeah,
You know,
they're bugs. I mean,
and if you think about when they said that the oxygen level was at 35% and some other stuff, they're saying some of these spiders were the size of small dogs. I'm like, yeah, that's not a place I'd like to live.
so they can. Said praying mantis undergo incomplete metamorphosis. Sometimes, if their cage is too dry, a mantis may have trouble shedding old skin, will lose a limb in the process of molting. If it happens, it's possible for a mantis to regrow the lost limb, but only when they molt again.
Oh, okay.
So they molt again and then they regrow that limb.
makes
But they
sense.
do regrow their limbs. They regenerate limbs as long as there's at least a coxa remaining, whatever that is.
Yeah.
It won't regenerate right away, and maybe a tiny nub, and then they molt, I guess.
Wow.
Interesting.
That makes sense because the harder shell would prevent that limb
Yeah.
from continuing
Right.
to grow. Yeah.
But it just seems like that's a superior form of a structure. So if you get to the point where technology is all done with the mind, right? We've developed artificial intelligence and quantum computing, and the being has been generated over genetic engineering to the point where it no longer has to have sex to recreate new versions of itself.
Asexual, yeah.
And so instead, the way they procreate is they do it through design. And maybe they say, look, it doesn't matter what you look like anymore. No one's fucking. Let's all become mantises.
That's a good point.
Right?
That's a good
Like,
point.
let's.
Okay, I need to reset now.
This soft shit on the outside, like we're like fucking water balloons. We're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better if you're hard on the outside? And, we don't need to like use your fingers and thumbs anymore. We do everything with our mind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it gets to the point, like, this was the thing that I've heard about people that have supposedly worked on crafts, is that one of the most remarkable things is that there's no gears, there's no levers to turn, there's no buttons, there's no controls, that everything is done somehow or another where the being and the craft are one.
Yes.
Yes.
Consciously, yeah. I've had discussions about that with
Have
scientists.
you talked to anybody that has said that any of the crafts have controls in them?
No, all I've heard.
Basic, yes.
Yeah.
Basic controls?
While I was talking to Jack Sarfati about it, there was a craft that did have some place where the hands were in there, but it was only to sort of do some minor adjustments for the craft, is what he was describing, and other people have described.
That's what I was going to say. There's just all I've heard is that there's been 2 places for you to put your hands, and maybe for other parts of the crew, but that's about it. There's no.
Maybe that's so you don't use your phone, so you don't get distracted. Just use your hands.
Well,
Put your
yeah.
hands down on the thing. Okay,
So there's no
focus.
buttonology.
Who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe that is
there's no
part of
fucking
it.
around.
Yeah,
Maybe they have something similar to like cell phone addiction.
yeah.
So if they're putting their hands on the thing, wasn't that what Lazar said as well? Didn't he say there was something similar to that?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so no controls, and somehow or another putting your hand on it syncs you up, and then they're just using their mind.
Correct. Yep.
Did they try to explain how this was developed?
There's a lot of people that are looking into it now, and they're starting to see that, yes, it's possible. And I think that's, again, some of the new whistleblowers can shed some more light onto how this happens. And I think we need to hear a little bit more about these folks that came forward about the psionics team, and what exactly is this meditation? What are they linking up with? Does it feel mechanical? Does it feel like an entity? Because when you hear Jake talk about his experiences, he had a really spiritual experience with one of these things. While he was carrying it to the next place, he was literally crying in the interview.
This is that egg-looking thing.
Yeah, he said that he felt, he called it the 8 gone, I think, craft. That one is the one he had the spiritual.
8 gone?
8 gone, like a hexagon, but it has 8 sides, or octagon, I think would be the actual term. But he said it had like a 8-sided kind of a disc.
So this is not the thing we're talking about with the
not
helicopter?
the egg one. This is a different one.
A different one.
Yeah,
so he
describes
encountered
2.
a different one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He
I
actually
didn't
described 2.
see that interview.
Yeah, well, the detailed one, I think you can pull that one out of there. But he mentioned that one, he had like a real, no kidding, it was beautiful. And he cried about it because it was so beautiful of an experience.
Wow.
And I have a question about all those things, because if they can get into our minds, my thing is that how do you know that that's not what they're putting into your head? Because like what they experienced at a Skinwalker Ranch when they saw the creature on the top floor, they said as they approached it, they started feeling fear. And as they approached it further, the fear just kept intensifying to the point where it was like a physical change in the temperature. So if someone can put fear into you, why can't they put love into you and all these different things? And I'm not saying that it's not genuine, but part of being on the task force, you had to question everything.
Well, we can do that to each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can do that to each other through threats. We can put fear into people. We can do the, there's a crazy documentary called Holy Hell, and it's about this guy who was a cult leader. And one of the things that he would do to these people, he was a hypnotist too, but one of the things he would do to these people, he called it the knowing. And he would put his hands on them, and they would say that they would experience God. They had to be prepared for it. It was a thing that was very difficult to get. He had to approve you for it, and all these people wanted it, and they never got it. It was like a thing he held over your head. And then when he actually did it, even though this guy turned out to be a complete fraud and the cult disbanded, all those people talk about that moment when they had that experience with that guy, and they say it really happened.
Wow.
Because the human mind is weird, right? And if a person can do that to you by touching you, it just makes sense that some like super advanced being would say, like, what is the best feeling that I could give to this primitive entity that's studying me to let me know, like, don't blow me up, don't fuck with me, leave me alone.
100%.
And this is the best expression that you can have in life. What is
Right.
the best expression you have in life? Is love, pure love,
Yeah.
like just pure, just untethered love.
Yep.
It would make sense. It would like put that in you so that you would protect this thing.
Mm-hmm. And that may be part of it. And I think that's what their desire is. Just like we, would try to put our best foot forward if we knew that we were similarly being scrutinized. And,
Sure.
we want to do that.
When we visit uncontacted tribes, we give them free food.
Yeah, but
we just said, we're here for you guys.
But see, that's where my fear is. That's why I came forward, is that I was hearing stuff that actually brought concern. That, and the way I kind of package that up is that the military happens to be, unfortunately, the face of humankind here in this situation when it comes to the program. Because it's definitely not the public. We're just, errantly having people come forward with, I got abducted, or I saw this and I saw that. But in the military, that seems to be where there is an interface going on.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, is that too heavy-handed because they're not seeing the full human
Right. They're only
race?
seeing the military humans.
Right. And that's why I'm kind of took the tact I did instead of going through all the other channels. I just was like, let me try something new. Let me talk to the people and get to know the people, what they feel about this. And I'll just tell my story. Whatever happens, happens. Yeah, I took some spears, but, for the most part, people are ready for this.
People definitely want it. Whether they're ready for it, we'll find out if it
Right.
actually becomes bigger and more profound than what we've currently experienced.
Yeah, I got asked a question, and they said, if you were going to go to Congress and say, here's what we need to know about the UAP experience, what would you tell everybody?
That's a good question.
And my answer was, we don't need you anymore, because so many groups now have caught on that if they attune themselves to whatever it is, they can talk to these things directly themselves. Now, whether it's good or bad, but because of the badness that has transpired over the years, more and more people like you said you don't trust the government. There's people, they don't trust the government at all in this other thing. So they're like, let's reach out by ourselves. You've got people doing, RV and out-of-the-body experience and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. You've got people that are being contacted directly, so now they're trying to say things. So, and also, too, we're evolving. So as we're evolving and other things start happening, you have to start questioning, why do we need the government in the middle of this? Please don't take this the wrong way because people will get angry. It's kind of like the Catholic Church. I was always told, if you want to talk to God, you talk to God. But then why do I need a priest?
Right.
So the government's always been the middleman. Mm-hmm. So do we really still need him?
So when you're saying that all these people have figured out these methods, how to communicate with the aliens, what you're talking about is like people sitting down, this is something I'm hearing a lot lately, sitting down and supposedly summoning them, putting out like an intention and that they will come.
Yes.
Does that happen with you? You ever try it?
I haven't yet. So
why wouldn't you try it? If you think it's real.
I tell everybody I'm black and I'm afraid of the woo. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, I know I'm going to have to embrace it because it is part of the experience. So, like, I'm good friends with Travis Taylor. And when we first started talking, he was like, okay, I'd like to talk to you about coming out to the ranch, you and some of your friends, your intel guys. And we talked about it. And then I kind of put it up in the room and said, hey, guys, if we had a chance to go out to the ranch, who would go? And all the white people put their hands up right away. And all the black people were like in the corner going, now, let's think about this. Now, what are you actually asking? You know? And I sat there and I go, why is it that we're so, reserved about going? And I remember something that someone told me was, when the woo happens, you embrace it. But you don't run towards it because whatever that experience is, it was probably meant for somebody else, and now you're interfering when you run towards it.
Right. So if you summon the UFO, like if they come to visit you, that's meant to happen to you. But if you're summoning them,
Yes.